Carry yourself like you are unmatched. Move through life as if no one can replace what you bring to the table. There is a reality most people never truly face. You were never born beneath anyone else. Not in talent, not in value, not in potential. Yet somewhere along the road, life, comparison, fear, and self-doubt convinced you to operate below your true power. You learned to make yourself smaller. You learned to question your abilities. You learned to judge your worth through the opinions of people who never understood your vision or your future. And every time you accepted those limitations, you drifted further away from the person you were meant to become. But today, that changes. Today, you reclaim the identity that life attempted to strip away from you. Because confidence is not something handed to you. Confidence is a choice. Presence is not inherited, it is created. Identity is not magically discovered, it is built intentionally. And the next 90 minutes are not about becoming somebody new. They are about reconnecting with the version of yourself that existed before fear weakened you, before insecurity silenced you, before the world convinced you to lower your standards and hide your voice. This audiobook is a reconstruction of your identity. Step by step, thought by thought, decision by decision, you will discover a truth that only a small number of people ever truly understand. The way you present yourself determines how the world responds to you, not your past, not your background, not your struggles, your identity. If you move through life appearing small, the world will continue to make you feel smaller. If you show up uncertain, people will question your value. But the moment you begin showing up with the energy of someone who already belongs at the top, even before success arrives, the world starts adjusting itself around you. Because results follow identity. Success follows belief. Opportunities follow presence. And this audiobook is designed to restore every part of the presence you lost along the way. Through 10 transformative chapters, you will learn how to rise into the version of yourself that your future has been waiting for. The version that walks into any room with certainty, leads life with clarity, and holds standards so high that reality begins reorganizing itself around them. You will start by creating the strongest version of yourself, the version rooted in discipline, identity, and self-trust. Without this foundation, nothing lasting can survive. But once it exists, everything in your life begins to align. Then you will remove the distractions stealing your focus. You will protect your mind with intention, learning how to silence comparison, insecurity, and every outside voice trying to overpower your inner strength. After that, you will learn how to believe in yourself even when nobody else does, and you will understand why the world only starts supporting you after you choose to support yourself first. Chapter 1. Create the strongest version of yourself. Strength is never accidental. Strength is created deliberately, one choice at a time. Most people wait for strength the same way they wait for luck, hoping that someday they will suddenly wake up confident, disciplined, and unstoppable. But strength does not arrive like magic. It is built like a structure, piece by piece, habit by habit, identity by identity. And the person you become tomorrow is shaped by the actions you repeat today. You cannot carry yourself like the best while thinking like the weakest version of yourself. If your identity is still connected to old failures, limiting labels, or inherited insecurities, no amount of outside success will ever make you feel powerful. Confidence begins internally long before the world sees visible proof of it. That is why this chapter becomes the foundation for everything that follows, because without inner strength, every other skill collapses under pressure. Society trained you to measure yourself through outcomes. Your victories, your failures, your achievements, your performance. But the deeper truth is far more powerful. Outcomes do not create identity. Identity creates outcomes. A strong identity creates a strong life. A weak identity creates a fragile one. Strength begins the moment you stop waiting and start becoming. The first place you rebuild your identity is at the beginning of your day. Your mornings are the control center of your life. Before the world speaks to you, before responsibilities overwhelm you, before distractions invade your attention, your mind still belongs to you. What you choose to do during those first moments shapes every decision that follows afterward. The strongest people in the world all share one thing in common. They refuse to negotiate with their mornings. They own them completely. 1 hour without your phone places your mind back into leadership mode. One meaningful action that creates momentum, reading, exercising, writing your goals, reconnects you with the person you are becoming. And 3 identity statements anchor your mindset into strength. I show up. I am enough. I lead my own life. These are not empty motivational phrases. They are mental anchors. They interrupt the patterns of self-doubt that once controlled you. They shift your nervous system into readiness and focus. They remind you that your state of mind is your responsibility, not your circumstances. Your morning is not simply a routine. Your morning is an identity ritual. But strength is not only built through rituals, it is also built through rewriting the story you tell yourself internally. If your inner dialogue is still shaped by old criticism, painful experiences, or outdated versions of yourself, you will sabotage your future using beliefs that no longer belong in your life. You must begin speaking to yourself like someone preparing for greatness, not someone simply trying to survive. When your mind says, "I can't," challenge it. When you hear, "I'm not good enough," replace it. When your past failures rise into your thoughts, answer them with your present commitment. This is not fantasy. This is discipline, mental discipline, identity discipline. Strength becomes real the moment you stop allowing emotions to lead your life and begin allowing your standards to lead instead. Standards are the backbone of your identity. They define what you tolerate, what is unacceptable, what your future demands, and what no longer belongs in your life. A strong identity refuses to shrink itself to fit weak habits. Your standards become your silent language, the way you speak to yourself, the way you care for your body, the boundaries you protect, the way you manage your attention, the way you follow through on commitments. And as your standards rise, your decisions naturally rise with them. You cannot create a powerful life while holding weak standards. Now understand this clearly. Strength is not intensity. Strength is consistency. Anyone can stay disciplined for a single day. Anyone can stay motivated for a week. But the strongest version of yourself is built during the days when nothing feels exciting, when progress appears slow and when the work feels repetitive. Consistency may not look impressive in the moment, but it creates a foundation that cannot be shaken. There is a reason elite performers rely on identity-based habits. Identity survives longer than motivation. Identity survives longer than mood. Identity survives longer than fear. If you truly want to create the strongest version of yourself, stop asking, "What do I feel like doing today?" Start asking, "What action matches the person I'm becoming?" That single question can completely change the direction of your life, because identity is not something you wait for. Identity is something you choose. But becoming strong also requires confronting the weaker parts of yourself honestly. You must recognize the moments where you lacked discipline. You must acknowledge the times you made excuses. You must notice the situations where comfort defeated growth. Not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Self-awareness creates self-correction. Self-correction creates self-trust. Self-trust creates strength. And strength creates the life you truly want. Strength is a daily decision. Your decision, every single day. When you decide to show up differently, your life changes. When you decide to raise your standards, your results change. When you choose to lead your mind, instead of allowing your mind to control you, everything changes. You will notice the transformation first in your thoughts, your posture, and your decisions. Then the world will notice it in the way you speak, move, and carry yourself. Strength radiates. It becomes impossible to ignore. People feel it before you even say a word, and that leads to the most important truth in this chapter. When you become strong internally, the noise outside loses its influence over you. The world feels less intimidating. Other people's opinions lose control over your emotions. Setbacks stop discouraging you as deeply. Fear becomes less convincing because a strong identity does not collapse under pressure. A strong identity grows stronger through pressure. You are not simply building muscles. You are building a mindset. You are building character. You are building an identity capable of carrying the success you desire. And now that your foundation is beginning to rise, you are ready for the next chapter, where you will learn how to protect it. Because even the strongest mind becomes powerless when you allow the world to constantly invade it. Chapter 2. Eliminate the noise. Protect your mind. The strongest version of yourself cannot grow inside a mind overwhelmed with chaos. Your mind is the battlefield where your future is either created or destroyed. Every single day you wake up with a mind designed to evolve and expand. Yet you place that mind in environments filled with distractions, opinions, and voices that weaken it. You scroll endlessly. You compare your life to strangers. You absorb thoughts and beliefs that have nothing to do with the person you are trying to become. You listen to people who cannot even understand what your future requires from you. And before your day has truly started, your confidence has already suffered its first blow. Noise does not only distract you, noise reshapes you. Noise disconnects you from the only voice that truly matters, your own. Most people believe their problem is lack of discipline, lack of focus, or lack of consistency. But the deeper truth is this: their mind is so crowded with the opinions of the world that they can no longer hear the direction of their own potential. You cannot build a powerful life inside a distracted mind. Removing the noise is not a luxury. It is survival. Protecting your mind is not optional. It is necessary. Your attention is not free. It is your most valuable currency. Wherever your attention goes, your identity follows. Wherever your attention goes, your confidence follows. Wherever your attention goes, your future follows. The wrong input destroys the right identity, and the right input destroys the wrong identity. That is why you must reclaim your mind intentionally, because confidence is not created by repeating affirmations alone. Confidence is built by eliminating contamination. Mental pollution causes strong people to behave weakly. It causes capable people to hesitate. It causes intelligent people to question themselves. And nothing destroys potential faster than a mind that constantly doubts itself. Think about how quickly your emotional state changes when you consume the lives of others online. Comparison creates insecurity. Criticism creates defensiveness. Endless random content creates mental chaos. The more noise you consume, the less power you keep. You are not overwhelmed because you are weak. You are overwhelmed because your mind is overstimulated. Silencing the noise starts with the courage to disconnect intentionally, not forever but deliberately. Your brain was never designed to process thousands of distractions before the morning even begins. You need space. You need simplicity. You need silence. That is why the 90-minute focus block is one of the most powerful habits you can adopt. During this block, every notification stays off. Every unnecessary application stays closed. Every distraction is removed. This becomes your first step toward reclaiming your mental power. This is where you learn how to hear yourself again. During these 90 minutes, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop comparing and start building. You stop consuming and start choosing. Next comes the protection of your attention. Create a white list and a black list. Choose 3 sources that strengthen your mindset. Mentors, books, philosophies, voices that elevate your thinking. These are the influences that reinforce your identity. These are the ideas that remind you who you are becoming. Then, create your blacklist. 5 sources that consistently weaken your energy. People who drain your confidence. Platforms that steal your focus. Accounts that trigger comparison. Content that feeds anxiety. Voices that keep reminding you of the weaker version of yourself you have already outgrown. The moment you become intentional about what enters your mind, you become intentional about who you become. Your attention is not an open door. It is a fortress. Treat it that way. And then comes the hardest part of all. You must distance yourself from people who constantly make you feel smaller. Not because you think you are superior to them, but because you are building a future that requires mental clarity. Energy spreads quickly, and negative energy spreads the fastest. Some people only feel comfortable around the weaker version of you because your growth threatens their comfort. When you improve, you challenge their identity. When you rise, you expose their stagnation. When you evolve, you force them to confront truths they have avoided for years. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you into your future, and that is perfectly okay. Protecting your mind also means mastering the internal noise, the thoughts repeating themselves when nobody else is around. You can silence your phone, but if you cannot silence self-doubt, the noise continues. The greatest source of noise is not the outside world. It is the untrained inner voice, constantly questioning your worth. You must train your mind to speak differently, to speak with leadership instead of fear, to speak with intention instead of insecurity, to speak with clarity instead of confusion. Say it clearly. My mind is my territory. I protect it. Identity grows in silence, confusion grows in chaos, strength grows in discipline, weakness grows in distraction. This is why solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is leverage. This is where ideas are formed. This is where confidence develops. This is where identity strengthens. You must sit with yourself long enough to remember who you truly are. The paradox of this chapter is simple. The outside world becomes manageable the moment the inside world becomes peaceful. When your mind is calm, criticism loses its influence. When your mind is strong, comparison loses its importance. When your mind is protected, negativity loses access. When your mind becomes intentional, fear loses control. You stop reacting and begin responding. You stop absorbing and begin creating. You stop shrinking and begin rising. Now ask yourself the questions most people avoid their entire lives. What voices have I allowed into my mind that no longer belong there? What thoughts do I repeat that sabotage my future? What distractions am I addicted to that prevent me from hearing myself clearly? Because the strongest version of you is not created through more information. It is created through better attention. Your attention shapes your reality. Your reality shapes your identity. Your identity shapes your future. Say it again. My attention shapes my life. The moment you truly believe that sentence is the moment everything starts changing. Silencing the noise is not about isolation. It is about liberation. It is about freeing your mind from distractions so your future finally has room to breathe. And once your mind becomes quiet, you become dangerous. You think clearly. You move intentionally. You decide powerfully. You live deliberately because noise no longer controls you. Identity does. And that identity leads directly into Chapter 3, where you discover the next truth. The world does not need to believe in your future as long as you believe in it first. Chapter 3. Fight for your future. When nobody believes in you, you do not need the world's belief. You only need your own. Some of the most defining moments of life happen when you are completely alone, mentally, emotionally, and strategically. Nobody is applauding you. Nobody understands your vision. Nobody sees what you are trying to build. And in that silence, most people quit. But the strongest individuals, the people who build legacies and leave a lasting mark, learn how to fight for their future, even when nobody else believes in them. Belief is the soil where achievement grows. If belief is weak, everything else eventually collapses. You may have resources, you may have talent, you may have opportunity, but without belief, your potential stays hidden, unused, and unrealized. Self-belief is not an emotion, it is a discipline. You have experienced being underestimated. You have been ignored. You have worked while others doubted you. You have put in effort that nobody recognized. You have felt invisible at times, but your value was never determined by recognition, applause, or validation. Your value has always been determined by your actions, your resilience, and your internal commitment to continue moving forward. The world follows those who lead themselves first. When you fight for your future, you begin with evidence, small victories, daily progress, repeated proof that you are moving closer toward your goals. That is why the evidence board matters. Every day, record one action that moved you forward, one measurable victory, one step that strengthened your identity. These small actions become fuel for self-belief. They become physical proof that you are serious about your future. Next, write down 25 reasons why you must succeed. Not for the approval of others, not to impress society, for yourself. Each reason should connect deeply to your purpose, your standards, and your vision. Let those reasons remind you that your future is non-negotiable. Whenever doubt appears, your list becomes your anchor. Visualize your future self every single day. Spend 2 minutes seeing the person you are becoming. Not a fantasy version, but the version of yourself that embodies every quality required to achieve your goals. See the posture, hear the voice, feel the confidence. Imagine the obstacles already overcome. Visualize not only success, but also the discipline, courage, and decisions responsible for creating it. When you repeatedly show your mind this identity, you begin training your brain to behave as if that version already exists. The paradox is powerful. People only start believing after you succeed, but you must believe before anyone else ever does. Waiting for support is waiting for failure. Waiting for validation is surrendering your power. Waiting for motivation is giving control away. The only power that truly matters is self-belief, consistent, daily, unshakable. To strengthen that belief, you must challenge the internal stories limiting your growth. When your mind says, "I'm not ready," answer, "I am becoming ready." When your mind says, "I will never achieve this," answer, "I am learning how." When your past whispers failure, answer, "My future defines me now." Every internal conversation is a battle for identity. Whoever wins those battles determines who you become. Resistance is unavoidable. The moment you decide to fight for your future, doubt, fear, and opposition will appear. From other people, but more importantly, from yourself. Your old identity will try to survive. Comfort will tempt you. Past failures will speak loudly. And in those moments you will face 2 choices: surrender or rise. Surrender strengthens the weaker version of yourself. Rising strengthens the version capable of accomplishing anything. Remember this clearly. Real self-belief is rarely loud. It does not require applause. It does not depend on recognition. It is calm, steady, and deliberate. It reveals itself through repeated decisions to continue showing up, even when no visible results appear. The daily rituals of self-belief matter more than the milestones themselves. When you consistently choose identity over emotion, consistency over mood, and action over hesitation, your mind slowly begins trusting you again. Self-trust is the currency of power. Self-trust transforms effort into momentum. Self-trust turns ordinary action into extraordinary growth. Do not wait for someone else to light your path. You are your own source of light. Challenge yourself daily. Fight for your future when it feels inconvenient. Fight when it feels uncomfortable. Fight when nobody notices. Fight when every part of you wants to stop. The person who survives this silent battle becomes unstoppable. The person who quits becomes delayed, distracted, or defeated. And finally, internalize this mantra. Be your own believer. Repeat it when you wake up. Repeat it before you sleep. Repeat it when fear appears. Repeat it in moments of loneliness. Repeat it until your actions reflect it. Repeat it until your choices prove it. Repeat it until your mind can no longer doubt it. This is the difference between wasted potential and realized greatness. Your self-belief becomes the foundation for every other strength you will build. It is the core that carries you into Chapter 4, where you will learn how to show up with the energy, presence, and authority of someone who has already claimed their future. No one else's doubt can overpower your self-belief. No obstacle can stop the person who refuses to surrender. Fight for your future today. Fight when invisible. Fight when exhausted. Fight when uncertain. And remember that every single day you choose belief over doubt, you strengthen the most powerful version of yourself. The version no circumstance, opinion, or failure can break. Your future belongs to the person who believes in it first. Become that person. Chapter 4. Show up with the energy of the best. The strongest individuals do not wait until they are perfect before taking action. They show up as if they already belong among winners. Most people enter rooms apologetically. Their shoulders collapse, their heads lower. Their energy weakens. They shrink themselves to avoid judgment, confrontation, or attention, and because of that, they are ignored, underestimated, and dismissed. Presence communicates louder than words. The way you walk, breathe, and carry yourself broadcasts your identity before you ever speak. When you shrink, people feel it. When you hesitate, people notice it. When you move with certainty, steadiness, and intention, people naturally follow your energy without understanding why. Showing up with the energy of the best is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is acting from the identity you are becoming instead of the fears that once controlled you. Confidence is built through action, not gifted by circumstances. Your body becomes an amplifier for your identity. Stand tall, open your chest, lift your chin. Let your posture communicate strength. Even 2 minutes of intentional body positioning sends signals to your nervous system that say, "I belong here." Your brain recognizes this expanded physical state and shifts internally from uncertainty toward authority. This is not pretending. This is conditioning. This is training your internal state to align with the person you want to become. Next, take initiative. Do not wait to be acknowledged. Speak first. Move first. Offer value first. Leaders do not sit silently waiting for permission. They set the tone. They influence the pace. They shape the energy of the environment. And when you repeatedly take initiative, the world slowly adjusts to the standard you establish. Energy spreads quickly. If you constantly surround yourself with passive or negative energy, your own presence weakens, but controlled, focused, confident energy elevates both you and the people around you. Be intentional about the energy you bring into every space. Your presence is an extension of your identity, and it shapes the environment before you even speak. Your voice is also part of your energy. Speak deliberately. Speak clearly. Speak slowly. Words delivered with certainty carry power even when the message itself is simple. Rushed or hesitant speech weakens authority. Deliberate communication strengthens identity. People naturally respect those who speak with clarity and conviction. Emotion is energy expressed outwardly. Anxiety, insecurity, and self-doubt appear physically through hesitation, nervous movement, and lowered energy. Calmness, confidence, and control appear physically through steady movement, composed posture, and measured speech. You must regulate your emotions, not suppress them. Channel them. Turn nervousness into focus. Transform fear into preparation. Fear of judgment silently destroys energy. Most people limit themselves because they assume others are constantly criticizing them, but in reality, most people are too focused on their own insecurities to analyze you as deeply as you imagine. Your responsibility is not to please everyone around you. Your responsibility is to embody your standards, your identity, and your purpose. Authenticity strengthens energy. The energy of the best remains consistent instead of performative. It does not change depending on mood. It does not depend on validation. It exists independently of recognition. It becomes a stable identity that radiates quiet authority. And the more consistent your internal state becomes, the less outside noise can influence you. Daily rituals help strengthen this energy. Align your posture, breathing, movement, appearance, and environment with the person you are becoming. Stand like someone who naturally commands attention. Speak like someone who does not beg to be heard. Move like someone who is capable, composed, and unshakable. Presence is a reflection of identity. And when you embody this energy consistently, the world begins responding differently to you. Opportunities appear. People listen more carefully. Doors begin opening. Not because you demanded it, but because you continuously projected the version of yourself capable of receiving it. Your presence becomes a declaration of your standards, your discipline, and your vision. Finally, your internal dialogue must match your outward energy. Think like someone who belongs. Speak to yourself like someone who is already capable. Reinforce your identity with this mantra. Act as if I am the best until becoming the best feels natural. Every movement, every word, every thought. Let all of it strengthen your identity. When your internal and external states align, your presence becomes impossible to ignore. You influence naturally. You lead without forcing. You command respect without aggression. Showing up with the energy of the best is not a temporary performance. It is a daily discipline. It demands self-awareness, intention, and consistency. But once you master it, it becomes your natural state, your default setting, and it begins to influence every interaction, every decision, and every challenge you face, multiplying the power of your identity. Your presence is your power. Protect it, develop it, strengthen it consistently. Chapter 5. Remove what weakens your confidence. You cannot evolve into the strongest version of yourself while holding tightly to the things that continuously pull you backward. Confidence is built just as much through subtraction as it is through addition. Most people believe growth only comes from adding more habits, consuming more knowledge, or working harder. But true transformation begins with elimination. Removing the people, routines, thoughts, and patterns that drain your energy and weaken your mindset. Trying to grow while remaining surrounded by toxic influences is like planting seeds in poisoned soil. Nothing healthy can thrive there. You cannot develop strong roots in weak ground. Everything you tolerate eventually shapes the version of yourself that survives. Start by examining your internal dialogue. What do you say to yourself when nobody else is listening? Do you criticize yourself more often than you encourage yourself? Do you constantly replay old mistakes and convince yourself they define your future? Every attack against yourself weakens confidence. Every repeated negative thought strengthens insecurity. Your inner voice is either building your identity or destroying it, and it never stays neutral. Your rituals must begin with clearing mental clutter. Write down the negative thoughts that repeat endlessly in your mind. Challenge them. Replace them with stronger truths. If your mind believes you are weak, you will behave weakly. If your mind believes you are powerful, you will act accordingly. Next, evaluate the people around you carefully. Not everyone who claims to care about you actually contributes to your growth. Some people operate from negativity by default. Others project their fears onto you. Some unconsciously benefit from your self-doubt. And the moment you begin improving yourself, those relationships will test your progress. Energy spreads quickly, and negative energy spreads the fastest. You must reduce access to anyone who consistently drains your spirit. This does not mean abandoning everyone around you. It means protecting your identity. It means creating boundaries. It means choosing who influences your emotions, who advises you, and who has access to your growth. A powerful mind surrounded by weak energy can never fully thrive. You do not owe anyone your peace. Now, examine the habits quietly destroying your confidence. The small decisions you make every day shape your identity far more than dramatic moments ever will. Checking your phone immediately after waking up, postponing responsibilities, breaking promises to yourself, these behaviors slowly destroy self-trust. Every compromise against your standards removes another brick from your foundation. If you want to become stronger, begin by removing the things that weaken you. Create a 7-day audit. Make a remove list. Write down the habits, patterns, routines, and behaviors that drain your energy or reinforce insecurity. Then create a keep list. Write down the actions, routines, and rituals that strengthen your confidence and reinforce your identity. Then apply one rule. Anything that consistently drains your energy gets removed immediately. No negotiation, no excuses. Your environment also shapes who you become. Your physical surroundings, digital consumption, and social interactions constantly reinforce your identity. A cluttered environment creates a cluttered mind. Social media that triggers comparison or anxiety slowly destroys confidence. People who focus only on negativity shape your thinking before you even notice it happening. Protecting your environment means protecting your future. Another subtle but extremely important factor is self-criticism. Many people mistakenly believe harsh self-talk creates discipline. It does not. It trains your mind to associate effort with punishment. Replace destructive criticism with constructive guidance. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you genuinely want to mentor and help grow. Treat your identity with respect. Removing what weakens you will not feel comfortable. Your old identity will resist the change. Excuses will appear. Doubt will tempt you to return to familiar patterns. That is why courage matters. Courage allows you to choose the person you are becoming over the person you used to be. Every unhealthy thing you remove becomes a declaration. I refuse to sacrifice my future for temporary comfort. When you eliminate what drains you, you create space for growth, clarity, energy, and opportunity. Confidence stops feeling fragile. Your decisions begin aligning with your standards. Your presence becomes stronger. Your identity starts radiating power naturally. Finally, understand this principle clearly. Add intentionally. Remove ruthlessly. Your actions, relationships, habits, and thoughts must all support the identity you are building. The strongest people constantly refine their lives to protect their strength. They do not negotiate with energy drains. They remove, they protect, they cultivate. And when your confidence is no longer being eroded, when your environment supports your ambition, and when your mind speaks the language of power, you step into Chapter 6 prepared to fully own your life. Without excuses, without blame, without surrender. Remove what weakens you, protect what strengthens you, and rise into the strongest version of yourself. Chapter 6. Take ownership of your life. No excuses. Your life will never truly change until you decide to take complete ownership of it. Not partially, not occasionally, completely. Excuses are seductive because they feel safe. They protect the ego, they justify inaction. But every excuse quietly destroys identity. It teaches your mind that circumstances control your life instead of you. And a life controlled by excuses eventually becomes a life trapped in stagnation. Excuses silently destroy potential. Most people blame external circumstances for their failures. They wait endlessly for perfect timing. They rely on motivation instead of discipline. They allow setbacks to define their identity. But nobody owes you progress. No circumstance guarantees growth. Ownership begins exactly where excuses end. Every action you take must strengthen the person you are becoming. Every choice must reflect the standards you want your life to represent. Every decision must become a statement of intention rather than convenience. Ownership is not an emotion, it is a daily discipline, and identity grows strongest in the soil of responsibility. The first step toward ownership is radical honesty. Ask yourself directly, where have I made excuses? Where have I surrendered my power? Where have I blamed circumstances instead of taking action? Not to attack yourself, not to shame yourself, but to reclaim the energy you have wasted. Without honest self-reflection, ownership remains only an idea. Responsibility always comes before freedom. Once you identify where excuses have controlled your behavior, replace them with specific actions. This is where daily ownership sheets become powerful. Every day, write down the decisions you made, write down the actions you completed, write down the mistakes you encountered, write down the lessons you learned. This habit creates accountability. It closes the gap between intention and identity, and when practiced consistently, it trains your mind to stop looking for external blame. Small progress eventually becomes unstoppable momentum. That is the power of the 1% improvement rule. Every single day, no matter how small the step may seem, choose one action aligned with your standards. Small, consistent actions reshape habits. They strengthen discipline. They solidify identity. Motivation will fade. Excuses will appear. But repeated acts of ownership create irreversible growth. Ownership transforms obstacles into strategy. Life will always test you. External pressure, internal fear, and unexpected events will challenge your commitment repeatedly. The difference between someone who grows and someone who stays stuck is the willingness to respond with accountability instead of resentment. Every setback becomes an opportunity to reclaim control instead of surrendering it. Emotional responsibility matters just as much. Your emotions do not control your actions. Your identity does. When criticism or pressure appears, do not react emotionally or impulsively. Respond with intention. Respond with control. Respond with strength. Leaders do not wait for perfect circumstances before taking ownership of their lives. They create the conditions they need. They establish their standards. They take initiative without hesitation. Excuses become irrelevant. Accountability becomes non-negotiable. This mindset is what separates people who achieve from people who only wish. Ownership is the foundation of resilience. You will experience setbacks. You will encounter delays. You will feel frustration. Ownership does not remove these obstacles from your life. It gives you the ability to navigate through them instead of collapsing beneath them. You learn, you adapt, you continue moving forward instead of surrendering. You rise even when conditions are unfavorable. True ownership destroys the victim mindset. Victimhood blames outside forces for personal outcomes. It weakens your power, freezes your growth, and traps your identity. You cannot become the hero of your story while constantly thinking like a victim. Ownership is choosing the hero version of yourself every single day. To internalize this mindset, create daily affirmations that reinforce your responsibility for your own life. Tell yourself, I am responsible for my decisions. I am accountable for my outcomes. I lead my own life. These words reshape perception. They replace excuses with intention. They transform passive existence into active creation. Every habit you build, every decision you make, and every action you take must reflect ownership. Not occasionally, not only when convenient, consistently, repeatedly, until identity becomes stronger than doubt and accountability becomes instinctive. This is how strong people maintain momentum even under pressure. The true measurement of ownership is not intensity, it is consistency. Chapter 7. Push when you want to quit. The exact moment you feel like giving up is often the moment your future is being decided. The difference between people who rise and people who fall apart is the willingness to continue when every part of them wants to stop. Most people quit when things become difficult, when progress feels invisible, when effort feels exhausting, when discomfort appears. They abandon their identity at the first sign of resistance. But the strongest people understand something powerful. The moments where your mind whispers, "Stop, this is too hard," are the moments that shape the direction of your life. These are the moments where character is forged and identity becomes stronger. Quitting is not simply a reaction to difficulty, it is a decision. When nobody is watching, when energy fades, and when motivation disappears, your mind will try to convince you that quitting is acceptable. It will tell you that you have already done enough. It will tell you tomorrow will be easier. It will tell you it does not matter. It will tell you nobody will notice if you stop. Every one of those thoughts is a trap, a subtle attempt to strengthen the weaker version of yourself, the version that retreats from discomfort, the version that chooses safety over growth, the version that sacrifices identity for temporary comfort. The paradox is simple. The thing you most want to avoid is often the thing that will make you stronger. Strength is never created through convenience. Motivation alone will never carry you across difficult terrain. Talent alone will never push you beyond your limits. What carries you is discipline. What carries you is identity. What carries you is the decision to continue acting even when it feels uncomfortable. Every time you push through fear, exhaustion, or doubt, you strengthen your self-belief. Every time you surrender, you strengthen weakness. One of the most powerful tools in this battle is what I call the one more rule. When your mind desperately wants relief, when it tries convincing you that quitting is acceptable, commit to one more effort, one more minute, one more repetition, one more page, one more call, one more step, one more attempt. These small actions may seem insignificant, but over time they transform identity completely. They teach your brain that you are disciplined, reliable, and resilient. Most people underestimate the power of one more. Champions are not defined by giant moments of effort. They are defined by repeated decisions to continue during resistance. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to decide who you are. Will discomfort control your identity, or will your identity control your actions? People who consistently rise always choose the second option. They become loyal to their future, instead of attached to present comfort. The strongest people act before they feel fully prepared. Your body will feel tired. Your mind will doubt itself. Your emotions will resist, but those are not signals to stop. They are signals that your limits are expanding. Resistance is the training ground of character. The discomfort you feel is proof that your capacity is growing. Every step you take, despite the urge to quit, rewires your nervous system and creates resilience far stronger than temporary comfort ever could. Discomfort is the price of growth. To develop this mindset, create structured challenges that strengthen commitment. Identify one gatekeeper moment every day. The action your weaker self resists the most, confront it deliberately, push through the resistance intentionally, and reward yourself not with indulgence, but with acknowledgement of your discipline. These moments compound over time. They layer confidence, strength, and self-trust. People who quit allow temporary emotions to control their behavior. People who rise allow principles to control theirs. Quitting feels attractive because it promises relief. It promises familiarity. It protects you from uncertainty. But comfort becomes a cage. It protects your current identity while preventing your future identity from growing. Every time you quit, you choose the safety of mediocrity over the uncertainty of growth. Every time you continue, you choose expansion over stagnation. Your future self will thank you for every decision to keep going. The psychology of persistence is straightforward. Your mind naturally seeks the path of least resistance. Human beings are biologically wired to conserve energy, but powerful identities are built by overriding those default instincts with deliberate action. To become great, you must train your mind to act despite fear, fatigue, and uncertainty. You must condition yourself so that resistance becomes the signal to move forward instead of retreat. Visualization strengthens this process. Picture the strongest version of yourself standing at the top of the climb. See the results, see the impact, see the identity being created through persistence. Every effort, every repetition, every difficult step aligns you closer to that future version. Identity becomes real, and quitting begins to lose its attraction. The real battle is never with the outside world. It is within you. Every excuse, hesitation, and thought of quitting is the voice of an older version of yourself. Your present identity must confront and surpass those echoes daily. This is where ordinary people become extraordinary. One day you will look back and realize that the moments you thought you could not continue were the exact moments that shaped your destiny. Energy, focus, and intention all converge in these moments. To strengthen yourself, you must push intentionally. Choose effort when your body resists. Choose clarity when your mind becomes uncertain. Choose purpose when emotions cloud your judgment. Consistency under pressure is the essence of mastery. It is how powerful people turn identity into reality. Loyalty to your future must become stronger than loyalty to comfort. Remember this. Success is not built on temporary inspiration. Success is built on repeated decisions to show up, act, and continue. Those repeated decisions become the bricks that form a resilient identity. Motivation fades, identity remains, discipline remains, choice remains. On the days you feel like quitting, speak to yourself with authority. I will not quit on myself. I will rise again and again. Make those words your mantra. Repeat them during exhaustion. Repeat them during frustration. Repeat them during fear. Let them carry you through moments where weaker versions of yourself would surrender, because the strongest version of you is built in those moments. Quiet, relentless, unshakable. Chapter 8. Trust the process when results are invisible. The results you want will not appear immediately, but the identity you are building already is. This is the hardest stage of growth, the invisible season. The season where you are doing everything correctly, yet nothing appears to change. The season where effort feels high but progress feels invisible. The season where you begin questioning whether your work even matters. This is where most people break, not because they lack ability, but because they lack patience. People rarely quit because growth is difficult. They quit because they cannot see results quickly enough. But understand this clearly, you must stay anchored in your identity. The most powerful transformations happen long before the outside world notices them. Roots grow before trees appear. Foundations form before buildings rise. Character develops before success becomes visible. You are growing even when the results remain silent. The human mind constantly craves evidence. It wants proof. It wants reassurance. It wants immediate feedback. But greatness does not grow according to your emotions. It grows according to your discipline. It grows according to your habits. It grows according to your willingness to continue showing up, even when your emotions tell you it is pointless. Your consistency is planting seeds you cannot yet see. When visible progress disappears, it becomes easy to believe nothing is happening. But that belief is false. Invisible growth is still growth. It is mental conditioning. It is emotional strengthening. It is identity formation. It is you becoming someone who will eventually become unstoppable. The process begins working long before the results become visible. You must learn to remain loyal even when the scoreboard appears empty. This is where most people sabotage their future. When results do not appear quickly, they change methods, they change goals, they abandon plans, they restart constantly, and because they restart repeatedly, they never build deep roots. If you restart every time uncertainty appears, you will never experience the power of compounding. And compounding is not limited to money. Compounding happens in discipline. Compounding happens in mindset. Compounding happens in self-belief. Compounding happens in identity. Consistency compounds. But only if you remain committed long enough for it to activate. Trusting the process means trusting yourself. It means believing your effort is not wasted. It means believing your future is still unfolding even when the present feels quiet. It means believing something meaningful is happening beneath the surface. The process shapes you in ways external success never could. The work you do when nobody notices prepares you for the day everyone finally does. Invisible seasons develop patience. They develop resilience. They develop perspective. They develop the internal strength required to sustain success once it arrives. Success without identity eventually collapses. Identity without success eventually rises. This chapter is about strengthening the second one. One powerful method for doing this is the identity log. Instead of obsessing over external results, track your internal decisions. Track what you completed even when you did not feel motivated. Track how you handled pressure. Track how you honored your promises. Track how you pushed through resistance. Measure your discipline, not your dopamine. Visible progress is temporary. Invisible progress is foundational. You must also detach your emotional state from your scoreboard. Results are inconsistent. Results are unpredictable. Results are non-linear. But your effort can remain consistent. Your discipline can remain predictable. Your standards can remain steady, even when your growth appears uneven. People who only act when they are winning never win for long. People who only act when motivated never develop depth. Trust is a discipline, not an emotion. There will be days filled with doubt, days where you question your path, days where your old identity whispers, "This is not working." Those days are not signs to stop. They are signs to continue. They are signs that you are building a version of yourself, no longer dependent on instant gratification. Delayed rewards build powerful people. Instant rewards build fragile people. Trusting the process also means respecting repetition. Repetition is not punishment. Repetition is mastery. Repetition is how the mind rewires itself. It is how confidence strengthens. It is how identity solidifies. The greatest performers in the world do not avoid repetition. They embrace it. They understand that consistency defeats intensity over time. They understand that small progress eventually becomes massive progress. They understand that the person who shows up daily will always outperform the person who only shows up when inspired. Your future is being built through ordinary days. The invisible season also demands emotional neutrality. Not every day will feel exciting. Not every day will feel rewarding. Some days will feel pointless. Some days will feel heavy. Some days will feel repetitive. But here is the truth. You are not moving in circles. You are moving through cycles. Cycles of growth. Cycles of identity strengthening. Cycles that slowly elevate you, even when the path feels flat. Success is almost always uphill. But you do not climb mountains through giant leaps. You climb them one step at a time. Another key to trusting the process is expanding your timeline. When your expectations are rushed, everything feels like failure. When your timeline expands, everything begins to feel like progress. You are not behind. You are becoming. You are building a life you have never lived before. That process takes time. Stop comparing your beginning to someone else's 10th year. Stop expecting immediate mastery. Stop rushing your transformation. You do not plant a seed and become angry because it is not a tree tomorrow. You are becoming someone extraordinary. Allow that becoming to unfold naturally. One final truth. Trusting the process is not passive. It is not sitting back and hoping for miracles. It is showing up intentionally every single day, even when the payoff remains invisible. It is honoring your habits, even when they feel unrewarding. It is choosing discipline even when certainty is absent. Trusting the process is active faith, not blind faith. Earned faith. Faith built through your actions. Faith built through consistency. Faith built through commitment. The results will arrive, they always do. But only for the person who stayed committed long enough to receive them. Chapter 9. Lock into your vision until it becomes reality. Your vision is sacred. Your future depends entirely on your ability to protect it, nurture it, and pursue it relentlessly. Most people fail not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they become inconsistent with their vision. They have dreams, they have ambitions, they have goals, but they allow distraction, doubt, and delay to pull them away from their direction. Your vision is not simply an idea, it is the blueprint for the life you are creating. It is the mental and emotional architecture of the person you are becoming. Without total commitment to that blueprint, no amount of motivation, effort, or skill will create lasting success. Loyalty to your vision matters more than talent, luck, or circumstances. The first obstacle you will face while locking into your vision is distraction. The world constantly fights for your attention. Social media floods your mind with comparison, judgment, and irrelevant noise. Friends, co-workers, and even family members may unintentionally pressure you into smaller thinking. Random emergencies appear constantly, pulling your focus away from your priorities. Without deliberate focus, your vision slowly erodes. Distraction is subtle. It does not arrive loudly. It quietly infiltrates your attention, reshapes your priorities, and gradually alters your identity. If you allow noise to dominate your mind, your future will eventually be shaped by that noise. You must intentionally create both a mental and physical environment that supports your vision. A vision board is not simply decoration, it is a ritual. Divide it into 4 sections: why, who, what, and daily 3. Why represents the emotional reason behind your commitment, the deeper purpose that keeps you moving when things become difficult, the reason you refuse to compromise your future. Who represents the identity you must embody, your posture, your mindset, your discipline, your resilience, your confidence. What represents the measurable goals that transform vision into actionable direction. Daily 3 represents the 3 non-negotiable actions you complete every day to remain aligned with your identity. Visit this board every morning. Engage with it intentionally, feel it emotionally, internalize it mentally. In a chaotic world, your vision board becomes an anchor, a reminder of who you are becoming and why that future matters. Motivation fades quickly, discipline remains. Loyalty to your vision does not require constant excitement. It requires commitment through discomfort, fatigue, and repetition. The people who succeed are not the people who feel inspired every day. They are the people who continue acting consistently, whether inspiration exists or not. Commitment outlasts emotion. Alignment outlasts outside opinions. Your loyalty to your vision is tested during invisible seasons, when results are delayed, when progress feels slow, when doubt begins creeping into your mind. The invisible season always determines the visible outcome. You must develop a social diet. Surround yourself with people, information, and environments that align with your future. Reduce exposure to anything that drains your energy or shrinks your perspective. Some friends may unconsciously resist your growth because your ambition challenges their comfort zone. Certain co-workers, online communities, or constant news consumption may introduce doubt, negativity, and distraction into your life. Protecting your mental environment is essential. The energy you absorb every day shapes your decisions. Your decisions shape your habits. Your habits shape your identity. Your environment either strengthens your vision or weakens it. Another critical step is eliminating secondary projects and obligations that do not serve your vision. Every unnecessary commitment divides focus. It fragments energy. It slows progress. The world constantly disguises distraction as opportunity. The strongest people evaluate every request according to their standards and goals. If something does not support the person they are becoming, it must be delayed, delegated, or rejected entirely. Alignment is non-negotiable. You cannot chase multiple futures simultaneously. Focus multiplies power. Your mind will also challenge you internally. Fear will emerge, doubt will appear, anxiety will rise. Your old identity will whisper that your vision is unrealistic. Fear will convince you that comfort is safer. Discomfort will tempt you to retreat back into familiarity. These internal battles exist for one reason: to reveal whether your identity has truly changed. People who quit during these moments remain trapped in their previous selves. People who persist build unshakable identity. Internal resistance is one of the clearest measurements of commitment. Visualization strengthens loyalty to your vision. Spend time every day mentally rehearsing your future self. Not fantasizing, rehearsing. Visualize your posture, your confidence, your decisions, your habits. Imagine the challenges you overcame. Imagine the effort you maintained. Imagine the identity fully embodied. The brain gradually begins treating repeated mental rehearsal as reality. Repetition strengthens the neurological pathways responsible for consistent action. You eventually become what your mind repeatedly rehearses. Trust the process. Results will always lag behind effort. Growth compounds invisibly. Discipline creates internal change long before external recognition appears. What remains unseen is shaping your life far more deeply than what is immediately visible. 1 week of consistency may appear insignificant, but compounded across months and years, it creates foundations that cannot easily be shaken. Patience is not passive. Patience is deliberate. It is active faith in the system of your identity. Invisible effort becomes the scaffolding of visible success. Create daily alignment metrics. Track focus. Track discipline. Track attitude. Do not measure progress only through applause, outcomes, or validation. Measure the consistency of your actions. Measure your commitment to your standards. Reward yourself for integrity and discipline, not merely visible wins. This trains your nervous system to respond to identity instead of emotion. It ensures your habits remain aligned with your vision even when life becomes difficult. Chapter 10. Rise again every time you fall. Falling is inevitable. Remaining down is a decision. Your future is not defined by your failures. It is defined by your response to them. Every person pursuing greatness will experience collapse at some point. Mental exhaustion, emotional setbacks, physical fatigue. There will be days where nothing seems to work. Days where energy disappears faster than it returns. Days where mistakes feel overwhelming. Days where life feels completely against you. Failure is inevitable. Disappointment is inevitable. Missteps are inevitable. But strong people understand something most people never fully realize. Falling is not the end. The end only happens when you refuse to rise again. Resilience is not something people are born with. It is built deliberately. Most people mistakenly believe strength means never failing. They admire people who appear unbreakable, untouchable, and perfectly composed. But reality is very different. The strongest people are not the people who never fall. They are the people who rise repeatedly without excuses, hesitation, or self-pity. For them, failure becomes fuel instead of a prison. Falling provides feedback. Rising builds champions. Your internal dialogue after failure matters deeply. Many people allow shame, regret, and self-criticism to consume them. They tell themselves, "I am not good enough, I failed again, I should have done better." These thoughts become traps that keep people stuck. Strong people recognize these voices as noise rather than truth. They separate facts from emotional interpretation. They acknowledge mistakes without surrendering their identity. They confront the lesson, extract the wisdom, and continue moving forward. Every fall contains information. Your responsibility is to extract the lesson instead of obsessing over the pain. One powerful strategy is the 24-hour reset protocol. Debrief, rest, reset, return. Debrief means objectively analyzing what happened. What triggered the setback? What could have been handled differently? Write down the lessons without emotional judgment. Rest means allowing your mind and body to recover. Stress and exhaustion distort perspective. Controlled recovery restores clarity. Reset means releasing emotional baggage. Guilt, shame, and regret do not improve performance. Awareness and accountability do. Return means immediately re-engaging with action. Take a deliberate step forward, even if it is small. Momentum rebuilds confidence. Resetting is not weakness, it is strategic strength. There will be moments where repeated setbacks tempt you to quit entirely. Your mind may argue that persistence is pointless. Your emotions may feel exhausted. Motivation may disappear completely. But identity does not rely on emotions. Identity relies on choice. The decision to rise again repeatedly strengthens your nervous system, builds self-trust, and reinforces resilience. The strongest person is the person who continues standing back up no matter how many times life knocks them down. Repetition shapes psychology. Every time you recover from failure, your brain records a new pattern: effort over emotion, action over doubt, identity over comfort. Neural pathways strengthen, habits solidify. Resilience becomes automatic. This is why visible success often appears only after years of invisible persistence. Success is cumulative, not instant. You must also prepare for external judgment. People may misunderstand your journey. They may doubt you. They may ridicule your persistence. Public failure often attracts criticism and discouragement. Weak people internalize those opinions and collapse. Strong people internalize the lessons and strengthen their resolve. External opinions lose power when your internal compass remains steady. Your identity becomes your validation. Another critical part of rising after failure is reflection. Every evening, review your actions, decisions, and outcomes. Identify moments where you struggled. Recognize moments where you demonstrated strength. Celebrate small victories. Analyze small mistakes. Reflection transforms experience into wisdom. It ensures every setback produces growth instead of frustration. Wisdom is built through repeated reflection and intentional correction. Discipline remains essential during recovery. Recovery without action creates stagnation. Rest without reflection wastes the lesson. Analysis without implementation becomes intellectual entertainment instead of transformation. Insight must be combined with action. You must confront discomfort directly. You must recommit to the routines that produce your desired future. Strong people rise because they refuse to allow failure to interrupt momentum. Momentum after failure is often more powerful than momentum before it. Resilience also requires emotional regulation. After setbacks, the mind exaggerates failure. Fear, shame, and doubt create emotional storms that feel overwhelming. But disciplined people do not allow emotions to control action. They regulate emotional energy intentionally. Deep breathing, focused attention, visualization, identity affirmations. These practices transform emotional intensity into productive energy. Emotions are fuel. Control them. Do not allow them to control you. Create a personal mantra that anchors your recovery. I rise. I learn. I grow. I persist. I am unstoppable. Repeat these words consistently, especially during moments of doubt and exhaustion. Allow them to recondition your subconscious mind. Allow them to remind you that failure is temporary Allow them to strengthen loyalty to identity instead of circumstance. Every repetition reinforces resilience. The cycle of falling and rising builds character in ways comfort never can. Look throughout history. Entrepreneurs who faced bankruptcy before building revolutionary companies. Athletes who suffered devastating injuries before winning championships. Inventors rejected countless times before achieving breakthroughs. Their defining trait was not talent alone, it was the repeated decision to rise after every setback. The pattern is always the same. Rise repeatedly until your identity becomes stronger than failure itself. Make this practical. Adopt routines that reinforce recovery. Set micro goals after setbacks. Schedule reflection and planning sessions. Practice self-talk that prioritizes progress instead of perfection. Maintain physical routines that energize rather than drain you. Surround yourself with people who elevate your mindset instead of weakening it. Every one of these practices compounds resilience. They train your nervous system, strengthen your identity, and make future recovery increasingly automatic. You have now moved through 10 chapters of transformation, and the lessons are clear. Identity comes first. Action follows. Consistency becomes your true power. Every principle you learned matters. Building strength, silencing noise, believing in yourself, showing up with powerful energy, cutting what weakens you, owning your life completely, pushing through resistance, trusting invisible progress, protecting your vision, and rising after every fall. All of these principles exist to rebuild your mindset and elevate your daily decisions. Strong people are not defined by luck, talent, or circumstance. They are defined by repeated decisions made quietly when nobody is watching. They act with discipline. They protect their standards. They continue rising through adversity. The invisible work, the quiet routines, the repeated choices. These are the foundations of unstoppable confidence and lasting progress. Now, the responsibility belongs to you. Take ownership of these lessons. Apply them to your daily life. Show up intentionally every single day. Protect your mind. Align your actions with your vision. And never sacrifice your identity for temporary comfort. Every time you push through fear, doubt, or exhaustion, you strengthen the version of yourself capable of extraordinary success. Remember this clearly. Strength is built, not gifted. Confidence is earned, not borrowed. Success is the natural result of consistent identity-based action. In the end, your life will not be defined by the moments where everything felt easy. It will be defined by the moments where you chose to continue, despite fear, despite doubt, despite uncertainty. Every decision you make from this point forward becomes a vote for the person you are becoming. You are not here to live beneath your potential. You are not here to spend your life trapped by fear, distraction, insecurity, or hesitation. You are here to build, to rise, to lead yourself with strength, to create a future that reflects the standards you choose to live by. The strongest version of you already exists within you. Not as fantasy, not as illusion, but as possibility waiting for discipline, consistency, and action to bring it to life. Every habit you build, every promise you keep, every moment you push forward when quitting feels easier, brings that identity closer to reality. There will still be difficult days. There will still be setbacks. There will still be moments where your confidence feels tested. But now you understand something powerful. Your identity is stronger than temporary emotion. Your discipline is stronger than distraction. Your vision is stronger than fear. And your future is shaped by what you repeatedly choose, not by what you occasionally feel. Walk into every room with intention. Protect your mind like it shapes your destiny, because it does. Raise your standards until your actions begin matching the future you want. Stay loyal to the process, even when progress feels invisible. And when life knocks you down, rise again without hesitation, again and again and again. Because people who transform their lives are not the people who never struggle, they are the people who refuse to stay defeated. From this day forward, stop waiting for permission to become powerful. Stop waiting for validation to believe in yourself. Stop waiting for perfect timing to take action. The time is now. The responsibility is yours, and the future belongs to the version of you willing to earn it. One disciplined action at a time, one courageous decision at a time, one powerful day at a time. You are building more than success. You are building identity. You are building resilience. You are building a mindset that no setback can permanently break. So stand taller, think stronger, move with purpose, speak with certainty, and continue becoming the person your future is waiting for. The world changes the moment you stop shrinking yourself and start living like you were meant to rise. This is your beginning, not the end. Now go become unforgettable.